Lakers guard Lonzo Ball told ESPN he has severed ties with Big Baller brand co-founder Alan Foster over concerns about Foster's criminal past and because Foster hasn't adequately accounted for the whereabouts of roughly $1.5 million from Ball's personal and business accounts. Foster has been a friend of Lonzo's father, LaVar, for almost a decade. He owns 16% of Big Baller brand. Lonzo told ESPN that Foster, quote, used his access to my business and personal finances to enrich himself. Lonzo himself owns 51% of Big Baller brand. It created quite a ripple in certain areas of conversation over the weekend. So, Jalen, I'll start with you. I know that you were talking to a lot of people about it this weekend. What is your primary takeaway?
Well, this is a unique scenario because you have star athlete gets drafted by his hometown team in the lottery in Lonzo Ball. You have LaVar Ball, who's been one of the most outspoken parents that we've seen in sports, and you see them putting themselves in position of ownership as it relates to Big Baller brand and not going the conventional route of signing a shoe deal. This is something that I actually applaud players considering doing. Now, because their business dealings have fallen out, it's kind of hard to comment on Foster's involvement versus LaVar's involvement and where are we going to go from here. But I don't think that he should regret trying to start his own company where he owns 51% of it.
You agree?
Ownership is everything. I agree with you. I don't have any issues with the ownership because everybody should try to own their own IP, okay? I think it comes down to the strategy and execution of it. And the first thing you do is when you start a business, there's a vetting process. You can hire people to vet the people that you decide to hire. The fact that this guy has had previous records for a long time is a major red flag that should have been flagged at the beginning of this whole thing. And anyway, after you do that, you hire an independent legal consultant, which his job is to make sure that Lonzo needs to have a little bit more responsibility here. I think it's a great lesson for him as well. Because when you want to be your own CEO, you have to be your own CEO. And you can allocate as much time as you do on the court as it is with your business, too. And I think LaVar should have been helping him with that.
Yeah, Sean, you're there in L.A., so you've sort of seen this whole LaVar Ball thing go on for a very long time right now. What is your takeaway?
Well, I'm going to just take off his last comment. LaVar could have helped him with that. There's a lot of things LaVar could have done that would have been better. LaVar could have helped LiAngelo stay in college and make sure that he was on the right track instead of fabricating this idea that LiAngelo was going to be a first-round draft pick, which he's clearly not. He took LaMelo, who has got a tremendous amount of talent. We don't even know where LaMelo is right now and what opportunities are going to present themselves for him. He's got three really talented kids, three really talented boys. Lonzo was humble. He was nice, and all my dealings that I ever dealt with him at UCLA, I thought he was outstanding, and every teammate loved him. But to Jay's point is, you look at your dad sometimes and say, okay, Dad, are we going to do this? Okay, cool. Who can I trust this guy? Yeah, you can trust him. And the answer is no, you couldn't trust him.
I'm just going to say one thing, too, and this is, I don't know them personally as far as their relationship, but a lot of times I feel like as an athlete, like when you go back to who you trust instead of about who's the right business decision for you, because your family happens to be around. Once again, I give them a lot of credit for trying to do this, but I think the way LaVar went about it, as far as, I'm not telling anybody how to raise their kids, but it didn't seem like he had all his T's crossed and his I's dotted.
It's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out because when you're in position of ownership, just imagine if a player like Zion Williamson decided to start his own shoe brand, okay? So I don't want this to discourage other people from trying it, to your point. Just if you're going to go down that path, make sure you have the right people that's navigating your affairs for you.
I guess the question I would ask here is, it's one thing to have the right idea. It's another thing entirely not to have any real idea of how to do it.
Exactly.
And so it's all well and good to be braggadocious and all that, to be the dad. Oh, I'm talking about, but all of a sudden now we're running a business here, and there's no obvious evidence that they had any idea what they were doing.